So what I'd like to do first is to get everyone to have an experience right here, right now, of what we're going to be talking about in just a second. So it has a lot to do with rhythm and music and harmony and all that, but I just want to go with clapping. So I want everyone to start clapping. Get the energy going. Let's get a little faster. Let's feel it flow, feel the flow. Get your body opened up. Let's get a little noise going. Woo! Yeah, team! All right, thank you. Doesn't that feel good? I know, I feel a lot better from that. So my name is Dr. Kevin Gyurina. I've been doing KST for quite a while. I've been interested in physics personally for a long time. I just kind of did well with it in school, even though I didn't really study it. So I had this aha moment, like many of us do, brushing my teeth one day, and it was synergy solutions. Now, how I got this idea, and we're going to talk about these three things, concepts, research references, and how to participate. But it's the Belgian draft horse. Has anyone heard of the Belgian draft horse? It's the strongest horse in the world. And so here's a picture of two horses in a competition. Well, I don't know, this is just a logging industry. But these days, they do competitions. And the strongest horse in the world is the Belgian draft horse. One can pull about 8,000 pounds. Wow, that's significant. Now, the weird thing is you put two horses together that are strangers, they can pull about 20 to 24,000 pounds. So that's an exponential effect, tripling. What's really interesting down here, there's a pointer? Yeah, down here, is that if they train together and they know each other, they work as one, and a unified pair can pull 30 to 32,000. That's a 4 times effect. Very, very exponential. Now, I heard that story. I was also in Alaska recently, interestingly enough, and I was working for a guy in order to learn how to get new patients in a different way. So, nonetheless, the whole point is he was sharing a story, and I'm sitting there really amazed by the idea of synergy, and I was immediately reflecting upon an experience I had in an experience part of the workshop years ago with KST, where we all had this intention of getting healed at the same time, and then somebody became the placeholder for that. We call that the surrogate. And then one of the KST doctors adjusted the surrogate, affecting the whole entire crowd that was participating. Now, everyone in the experience group, we did this yesterday. Did anyone feel anything yesterday from the experience group when we were doing that? Raise your hands. Everyone take a look around. Who had, so you can see that we were all participating in this. We all had experiences. Now, synergy is an interaction and cooperation of two or more organizations, substances, or other agents to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of separate effects. So we have these experiences all the time. If anyone's ever ran out of gas, you have to push your car, right? I don't know about anyone has lost that before. And so this big idea came to me that part of the problem I was noticing was sometimes people don't want to pay money for their health care. Sometimes people are in a tough position in their life for health care, and I wanted to solve that problem. And I wasn't sure how to do it, but I always had this idea of I could work on multiple people at one time. It would be a different kind of an adjustment, but nonetheless, it would help in some ways, in many ways, and oftentimes in ways that I didn't understand. So this is where I came up with the idea of synergy solutions. And so essentially we have the doctor group and the patient group. And another way of looking at it, all the patients, we have an intention of getting healing, and there's words of intention, resonance, and entrainment are all phenomena in physics that are being studied now and proven. And so we have all these different KSTers working at the same time on the group. This is all conceptual right now, because getting into the science, I don't know about you, but it takes a long time sometimes for me to wrap my head around some of these concepts. And I love to watch documentaries on different physicists and quantum healing and the Gaia channel, all these type of things like that. So what is actually going on? And so this is actually, I believe, the most important slide of the whole talk. So I'm going to kind of just chat about it for a minute. I want you to absorb it, take pictures if you need to. But in chiropractic, what we know very automatically, it's what we're taught, is function and structure are very much reliable on each other. And now we fully understand that our nutrition, our toxins have an effect, and now we're talking about traditional Chinese medicine of the meridians and acupuncture and EMF and all these waves and different properties of electronics that affect the human body. But what is the new wave of science over the last 20 or 30 years, maybe even before that, I obviously started with Einstein, is all these subtle energy fields. And there's a group of scientists now in different pockets, and I don't think any of them are talking to one another. That intention can affect these subtle energy fields. And these subtle energy fields can inform these levels, and these levels can inform back. So it's kind of like, well, how does remote healing work? There's all these, Sharon McTaggart, I was having a conversation with someone over here the other day about Sharon McTaggart. Has anyone heard of that name? Lynn McTaggart, thank you. I'm thinking of a friend of mine, Sharon.
She wrote The Field.
The Field, thought field stuff?
Yeah.
The Field. And she has this whole, it's YouTube, the intention experiment. And so when there's groups of people having an intention for other groups of people, what she found out was, yeah, there's groups of people that had the intention directed at them had some changes, but it was who was doing the giving of the intention who had the most profound changes. So it's kind of like this give and receive, kind of like this law of nature. When something goes out, something has to come back. It's kind of like the safety pin cycle in chiropractic.
They found out that people who were prayed for benefited, but the people who did the praying benefited even more.
Exactly. So in this idea, I've been working with another KST doc. He's not here this weekend, Dr. George. And him and I, for the last 6 weeks, have gotten on a live webinar. I've invited a couple of my patients on. We've been beta testing, and we've been doing this live healing Wednesdays at noon, every Wednesday, and they're getting changes. And what I noticed was I was having significant shifts in something in my life, in my body. And so it just started to bring some of these videos and some of these books that I've read over the years back to my mind of, okay, this is something here that we can all participate in. And one of the things I really wanted to do, and Ted is encouraging me, I think we can write some papers about this. And this is important because there's not too many people that are investigating the science that are actually applying it to real life. And this is what we're doing here. We're playing on these weird, interesting levels of physics and quantum physics, and maybe there's another term I think scientists are starting to come up with that's outside of quantum physics. I think the studies are, one of the doctors called it psychoenergetics. Nonetheless, what is actually going on here? Well, it's this game of we don't know what it is, and everyone's trying to describe it from their own point of view. And that's why we have all these different techniques. This is why we have all these different sciences. But really, we're getting closer and closer to a greater understanding of what it is to be a human being and what it is to be well. And I think one word really sums it up. It's connection. It's connection. Connection is healing, as I heard from a talk the other day. And I noticed in my own life when I was going through challenges, that I separated myself. And that's where I got worse. And then as I got, somehow I asked for help, and I got help. I got connected. And then that little connection sparked more connection. And that sparked more connection. And now I'm back. I'm better. Not back, yeah. But I can feel the climb. And so part of my aha is because of these other people that I've connected with that help me remember who I am and reclaim what I am. So these concepts, the rest is all about concepts for me personally, because the science is going to get proven. There's really intelligent people doing this work. And so the ideas of one candle, I want you to imagine that this room is pitch black and we light one candle. You can start to make out faces and shapes and whatnot, but then we have 10 candles. There's an exponential effect to the light, to the effect, to the heat, to the warmth. And then we have 100 candles. How great is that effect? I'll leave the measurements to the scientists. However, we know, experientially, we know this stuff is affecting people, and it's effective. Cultures around the world, from the beginning of written history, and of course that occurred before then, beginning of man, these practices were implemented. We can talk about the intention of prayer. Who is the head of the Mind Body Institute of Harvard? He wrote an amazing book. They talked about intention and prayer for people in surgeries and how that affected them in recovering faster and even having better outcomes for the surgeries. So as we get more people involved, there's a brighter effect. Now think about this image, the crowd. We were all clapping earlier. We all got the vibration going, so to speak. We all were in this pattern, and that's called entrainment. We see this in concerts. People, the group, the crowd, starts to get into this rhythm. You ever been to a football game, a soccer game, anything? People start getting into this rhythm. It's amazing. They become one. Now, is this hocus pocus? No, it's not. There's real science to this, and that's beautiful. So one of the most interesting people I've come across is this guy named Dr. William Tiller, and his books are beyond me. I opened them and I closed them in a few minutes. However, I like the YouTube videos. I like people who explain his work. And one of the people that works with him is a chiropractor who has turned into an energy healer, Dr. Eric Pearl. The work is the reconnective healing method. If anyone's heard of that. But what he's talking about here, and it's always been my experience coming to KST, is my abilities, my intuition, my psychic senses, so to speak, are heightened when I'm here. And I know that's where I'm going, so to speak, when I'm in my own practice by myself, but it's not quite as profound when I'm on my own, rather in a group of healers like this. It's an amazing effect. And I've also, over the years, become a Reiki professional. And so this is something they do in Reiki. They have multiple healers working on one client. There's an exponential effect. This is William Bankston. He does this other research. He's a skeptic. He's like the president of the Skeptic Society and some other international science groups. And what they do is his intention was to disprove all things woo-woo, as we talked about yesterday. And in this attempt to disprove it, he is now proving it. And he's developed a non-hands-on healing method. However, what he's discovered, it's only effective for Alzheimer's, not Parkinson's. It's only effective for very, very specific forms of cancer, but not others. So he has some theories about how different modalities, different techniques are helping different kinds of health issues. However, it's all intention-based. In fact, he only uses studies with people who don't believe in energy healing, don't believe in holistic healing, don't believe in vitalism, and yet it works. And it's been repeated in multiple places, different labs around the world. He has over 450 papers in different ways, different forms of energy healing, and all his experiments. What's also really interesting is his science is essentially disproving the randomized clinical controlled trial model. Essentially, when a group of people comes in, they divide them up. Well, at some point, they were all connected. He talked about it with animal studies, where they bring in, say, 100 mice in the crate, they divide them up in 4 groups. At some point, they had a connection. They all lived in the same world for at least a period of time. And then they go about and do the experiment. And what they noticed was a couple things. They would do the study and give, of course, the control group nothing, and then the regular group the therapy that worked, and yet the control group got better. And no matter what they separated with, it was affecting the control group. And so what became known, what he calls resonant bonding, where it's like we latch on to things that we connect to. And so my personal story around that is, just consider friends you haven't seen in 10 or 20 years. You connect with them like it was yesterday. You're bonded somehow, at some level. Into noetic sciences. This is for your information. We can get on here and talk about individual studies. It's a lot, and there's lots of videos and lots of articles to read. And this is just to encourage you the idea that remote healing, intentions of what we are attempting to accomplish, And all this woo stuff that we're working and playing with every day is actual reality. HeartMath is introducing, of course they've been phenomenal in understanding how the heart and the brain work together. And I don't know if they're doing studies with other people and how other people is affecting other heart rhythms. However, it's just very amazing information I wanted to point out to you. And this person, Nassim Harriman, you've heard of, Ella mentioned the Planck constant yesterday. Well, this gentleman, he's purporting to prove through his science and research that the large and the most macro and the most micro are mathematically equal somehow. And that's now like, it blows my mind away a little bit. But now we're starting to get into what's called the holographic universe theories. And so this is where we're more energy than physical matter. Now, if I'm starting to get out there, good, I'm pushing the envelope a little bit. I don't necessarily want you to buy into it right now. However, are you open to a possibility? Are you willing to investigate? And so with any of these research websites or these professionals I've mentioned, if you want to know who they are or get these slides, I'll happily send them to you. So to think of yourself as just a brain is to deprive yourself of a much bigger existence. So these are some images I love to use in my own workshops. This just demonstrates different fields that are measurable nowadays. This is the HeartMath torus. All kinds of interesting physics and information about how our physical body operates in relationship to our emotional self, in relationship to working and being near other people, and all this weird phenomena like mother's intuition. That time that cell phone rings and you pick it up and it's the person you were just thinking about. It's that knowingness that, thank God this happened or I would have been in that accident. It's these weird scenarios. And anyone who's been who lives near the New York City area during September 11th back in 2001, I had so many friends that just had this weird feeling not to go into work that day. I'll take the day off today. Very, very interesting stuff. And these people are connected. I don't want to say connected. They're intuitive. They have that interesting natural gift, which I personally believe we all have. Some of us have a more automatic nature to it. Some of us have to train it a bit more. So this is a quote by Dr. William Tiller, and essentially, we humans are much more than we think we are, and psychoenergetic science continues to expand the proof of it. So synergy solutions, the research is only catching up to our experiences. And so this is the idea that I created. It's a practical application to do remote healing from groups of doctors onto groups of participants. So my thinking, currently, I said we're doing this every Wednesday at noon. The idea is more KSTers, the greater the exponential effect. The bigger the community, the greater the weight of positivity and alignment will be for the entire community. This means the more people that we can help all at once, the greater effect it will have at home, in their town, in their state, in our country, around the world. These are things, experiments being done by different groups about crime in Washington, D.C., and the actions during wartime scenarios in different parts of the world. There's groups already doing things like this. However, KST takes it to another level because we actually have a method that we can communicate back and forth with and get answers from versus just positive intention. Now, I'm not saying that's a worse thing, but a positive intention is getting all these amazing results. Let's add a little extra flavor to it, and we can have a profound effect. So there's a benefit for you as well. Like we talked about, there is this give and this take. As we send out positive, there's something that comes back to us. And when we're in this group energy, this group, I call it Chiroquantum, but KST adjusting remotely, there's an impact back positively for the ones who are delivering it as well. So it's not just all give. So yes, you get your adjustment in different ways as participants. You can have your patients get additional care if they're on wellness programs, or you want them to get another doctor to take a look, so to speak. We can be on a leading edge of the healthcare global movement, building notoriety for KST. We can be part of future research. and essentially it's living the chiropractic lifestyle. And I haven't talked to Ted about this, so it's a surprise. But I would love to be part of funding some of KST research through these efforts. So your role in this, if you choose to accept this mission, is to provide me your email address. I'll send you the email to get connected to the doctor email that goes out to give you the link to get onto the live webinar, and you can just watch. You can participate as a client. You can participate as a remote adjuster. Ideally, I would love to have like the Belgian horse story, a minimum of 2 every time, or 5 or 10 or even 20 doctors at once or more, impacting potentially hundreds or thousands. And of course, we have video. People can watch it later and still have an effect as well. This is starting to be shown in other ways. And we could potentially have millions of people getting their adjustment weekly. Imagine the effect of how when we connect that to ourselves, to our families and loved ones, and to our communities at a higher level. Yes?
Is it just then the docs that are actually on the live webinar, or the patient
Both.
themselves are connected?
Both.
Oh, both.
Both. There's going to be people participating.
Yeah.
And the idea, just like the idea with all healing is this, when rituals involved, when there's a pattern involved, there's a greater effect. So what we've been doing right now is Dr. George and I have been just talking about a concept about what this is while people are logging on and getting on board. And then we're going to have like our intention statement for the session. We do the work. It takes 5 to 10 minutes. And then we have our close, and that's it. It's done in about 25 minutes. 20 to 25 minutes as long as we're taking.
And anyone who's been involved with KST can do it. Doesn't matter how much you know or how little or how many seminars you've been to.
I agree on that. Yes, correct.
Oh, great.
And, if you're uncomfortable with remote healing, just get on. It'll be a phenomenal experience. It would help open things up for you. And of course, I would love to have more doctors participating as doctors so that we can have a greater impact.
And we can have our patients call in.
Patients would call in. Ideally, what I would like to see is that anyone here can get their patients on board, have them get additional care. I have it set for $11 per session, $40 for the month, $440 for the year, or $400 for the year. That little marketing thing where you get a little savings for longer commitments. So the idea is the rising tide principle. This is one of the things I like to live my life by. So the more I can deliver a positive thing for somebody, that gets passed on, and then we all start to rise. You've seen the commercials where the person opens the door with a smile. We've all been there. We've all seen that. We've been part of both sides of that. When someone's nasty, sometimes that turns things the other way, and vice versa. When someone can give you that great smile, you tend to turn on your smile for others. So that's the idea of Synergy Solutions. I'm Dr. Kevin. Please let me know if I can help. Pass me your card. Send me an email. I'll be posting it in the forum. And we're very much in the beginning stages of this. So there'll be more information, more details to come. But thank you for your time and attention. Appreciate you.